Hello and welcome to Extreme Gameplays, where I play games stylishly. Today is a different video. I'm gonna be talking about what the next future God of War game needs to be properly called a God of War game. I'm gonna be talking about what it should add, what it really needs, what it should remove, all in this video, so stick out to the end of the video please, because it's a lot. Now, right before I get into anything about this video, I just want to get one thing out of the way and one thing clear specifically about God of War Ragnarok. And is that it has one of my favorite combat systems of all time, but the problem that I have with it is that it's not God of War combat. That's what I've been saying for a while now. It did try to bring back the grabs into the game with the Wrath Rage mode and stuff. It did try to bring back a lot of stuff from the old formula and stuff, but it's just not enough, I guess. And in this video, I'm going to be covering a lot more stuff. Now, God of War Ragnarok, again, as I said, phenomenal combat, but it's just not God of War combat, and I'm gonna touch onto it right now. It's obviously, obvious when you look at it, the camera being behind you and the whole approach with the RPG systems and that, but I'm not gonna get too deep into that. All you need to know is that the combat is phenomenal. I really like it, but there's a lot that could be done, and there's still a lot that could be removed from God of War Ragnarok to make the future God of War game much better, and to make it a proper God of War game. Like, I could call it a God of War game. Even if the camera is behind Kratos for the next game, fine. Let's just go through this video and let's see what I did today. So today I woke up and I chose violence. Okay, not really, but I woke up way too early today and I decided to make a thread on Twitter that took long, but the main setup was to make it a thread here so that, just to see what the people feel like on Twitter and stuff, and then make a video about it covering the points that I make here. So here's how the thread goes. A thread about the things the next God of War game has to do to be properly called a God of War game. Now, this still hasn't gotten a lot of likes. I'm sure it's gonna get like 5,000 likes in the future. Now, for real, some people have disagreed with this, and it's because of some reasons that I don't see how they are even properly justified. Like, some people are calling the the removal of the jump and aerial combat as evolution, so I'm not gonna really touch on that. I'm gonna leave the arguing and stuff for Twitter. Today I'm just gonna be going through the whole thread that I've made and stuff. So here's the first thing: bring back resource management and remove cooldowns. Now, this is a very important thing about the older games, and when it got just flat out removed in God of War 4, it certainly was a bummer for everyone. Cooldowns, other than them being, exploitable, like if you have a cooldown build, you can constantly do runic attacks. But even other than that, if you don't even exploit the system to its fullest and stuff, it is not as great and as rewarding as resource management. And people will come to learn if the next game maybe has a wider audience, just like God of War 4 and Ragnarok. People will come to find out that cooldowns are just, they're not the best thing in action games, and they're kind of frowned upon if we're talking overall in general. God of War did dip into cooldown systems and stuff with God of War Ascension, when it had the whole item system, but at the same time it kept the resource managing stuff. Like, the cooldowns was just a side little thing, and it was done beautifully, mind you. In that game, killing bigger enemies with the QTE thing, it took a longer time, on top of it being a safe way to take out the enemy. Now, that is all built up with the cooldown system in mind. So, when you take out a big enemy, it takes time because, your cooldowns are cooling down while you're safely taking out this enemy while having iframes and all. So it made total sense on why we had cooldowns. It was still justified, but then again, the new God of War is just straight too far away into, the whole cooldown system. Now, I added a picture of the chest in here, but, a magic chest would have been more proper. I added this right here, which doesn't tell you a lot, but still, like, having a proper magic meter is much better than having cooldowns for runics and stuff. And I added this picture of the Gorgon. When I say resource management, I don't just mean have chests lying around in the map for us to pick up stuff. Bring back the orb system, which I'm gonna get to in a couple of minutes, but still, for now we have this picture of Medusa. Killing the Medusa in God of War gives you magic orbs back. Killing other type of enemies with the grab does also, which grabs, again, I'll get into that in a second. Grabbing a siren and killing her does yield back magic orbs. The next picture I have a picture of Minotaur, right? Yeah, the Minotaur, health orbs, and all of the old God of Wars. That's just a formula that happened, and they need to bring it back somehow to kind of resemble the old games again. It just needs to happen again. That's how I feel like. So anyways, this is what I wrote. Have chests lying around in strategic spots and make sure to bring back the orb system. Now, when I say have chests lying around in strategic places, is that, after an encounter, you need to pace out the chests. So there's stuff going on around that. So, You're gonna have to have the whole structure of the game built around that. Or actually, they built the whole, you know, having the whole chest spots built around the game and how it flows and stuff. So you can't have a chest after every encounter to heal up your magic meter in the original God of Wars. God of War 1 was way too generous with its orbs and its chests, but later God of Wars did kind of change from what God of War 1 offered. Like God of War 2, you have to kind of memorize the magic chests after encounters. You have to know when exactly to use the magic for your best interest. That's how it kind of flowed. And so what I had later on was some enemies have to drop magic orbs, some others HP orbs. These will be based around the grabs. Later thread. I do explain it in a later thread. Here's the second part of this whole thing. Managing resources requires much more thinking than having cooldowns. All of this is saying bring back the magic system. No more runics, companion, and talisman shenanigans on cooldowns. Let me manage my resources. And that is generally just how I feel. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna come to grips with this. It's better than cooldowns. Cooldowns are just frowned upon in character action or, you know, overall action games. They're just not a fun thing to have. Not at all. So the next thing I had to say is, you know, this is not exactly the next thing, but it's just that's how it's kind of aligned up in here. So I'm just gonna go with it like this. Remove the companion system. We can all agree that having Kratos be alone as a one-man army is for the best. Hell, keep Mimir. We all love Mimir, but a companion? No. Design a combat system around Kratos only. Kratos needs no companions. Kratos was always alone in his adventures. So, I think this is pretty clear from what I wrote. All the other God of War games, we had Kratos be alone. Nobody really helping him in combat, other than God of War Ghost of Sparta, which added a neat little twist at the end with demos. But overall, you don't have anyone aiding you in combat. You don't. You just don't. Like God of War Ascension had the Doppelganger item, which is one hell of an item. But again, that's an item that you cast. It's like a magic attack. It's not really a companion that stays with you throughout the entirety of the game. Even Ghost of Sparta did not train us to, you know, fight besides Deimos, which is just so good, such a nice way of telling the story. Just having Deimos fight besides you at the end battle against Thanatos. And the game did not teach us about the whole companion thing and hey, have companions at the start, have this at this as a start, then get used to it at the end. No. The game just needs to bring back Kratos being a lone wolf. That's all. Like I see this, I don't want to manage a guy running around with me. I just don't. Okay, I just don't. Make it a God of War game. That's basically the focus of this thread and this YouTube video that you're watching right now. It has to be a God of War game. At this point, let's all just stop pretending RPG mechanics are better. Let's all stop pretending, you know, having companions is better, removing the jump is better. God of War needs to be God of War. It's the time right now. Like the next game, it's sure to be only on the PS5. Perhaps the it's releasing on PC in a future release, but still. As it coming out is going to be only on the PS5. They need to make sure they get everything right and to kind of return to form. The next thing I had is ditch the one-shot camera. It's limiting the creativity and what we can truly have with epic moments and destroys the ability to proper fast travel. Instead of adding slow sections for 2 lines of dialogue, having a cutscene do all that with some cuts is miles better. Now I have shown my disdain to the one-shot camera before, mainly because of the fast travel system getting fucked because of it. You know, the game is a whole open world, which I'll get to in another tweet that I have made right here, but for now, the one-shot camera really messes with what you can get creative with. One-shot cameras are just bad. Like, there are other ways to floating the next area by some camera cuts and stuff, and especially later on when we get New Game Plus and all that. All this one-shot camera bullshit is thrown out the window. It sucks. And the whole fast travel system, I've explained it before. Like, you have to travel to a gate, you get into that gate, wait for another gate to spawn, then you enter that gate, and then you're somewhere near the spot you want to be in. That's very bad, thanks to the one-shot camera. Spider-Man, that has one of the best traversal systems with its swinging and stuff, still considered a proper, nice fast travel system. We don't need a cinematic shit for fast traveling. It just needs to be a loading screen that takes merely 10 seconds. I'm fine with that over than... I would take that over just travel to this gate, get into it, and then get into another gate to take you to the realm. Yes, to the realm, not exactly to your spot. But hey, that's the point with ditching the one-shot camera. It's also limiting the hype factor and what the devs can do. Like, I'm pretty sure, you bet your sweet ass, they could have done a lot more insane stuff if it was the old camera. Which I'll get to the old camera, but still, for now, The one-shot camera is limiting them on what they can do and what they can't do, so it kind of sucks. That's all that I can say. Good for immersion, but they should really add an option that disables them, or maybe just they can tell the great story they're trying to tell in millions of other ways. There are other awesome games that cut the camera, like The Last of Us. Like, I can think of a lot of games, but not right now, obviously, since this is just a live commentary right now. I can think of a lot of games later on in a script that does the story well, you know, way better than God of War 4 or God of War Ragnarok, especially God of War Ragnarok, since God of War 4 is a good story without the one shot. But let's just move away from that point for now and get to the next point, which is bring back Red Orbs. An intricately balanced and challenging combat system without RPG mechanics serves better than being busy with menus for 20% of the game. Works better for our new old father as well, since we all know what he used to do. Naked. And now the second part is, Red Orbs work greatly with the grab system. It also does wonders for consistency in the combat. No longer will we try to grapple an enemy towards us and our blade would just bounce off due to levels. No more attacks that can or can't be blocked based on my or the enemy's level. So this is basically just a rant about removing the RPG system and being back to the original simplistic, you know, Red Orbs system and, you know, the simple upgrade system. What else did I have? With Red Orbs, we get our original and much better and simple upgrade system. A beautifully designed upgrade menu is all that's left, and we can keep armors for cosmetics. Builds, for the last time, this is not Dark Souls. You can have your builds and stuff in God of War Ragnarok, but please, God of War is not about having builds and billions of other stuff, please. Skill is better than having stats and skill. That's how I feel. That's actually how God of War was. There's no need for all this, you know, having your stats and your build and have this over there and billions of enchantments that thankfully they did get rid of a lot of enchantments in God of War Ragnarok. But the RPG system is still there for your, you know, enemies leveling up. What about that? You can't let go of that. Here's the pictures that I added. Basically a picture of Red Orbs floating into Kratos' blades. And we have the pause menu. This simplistic upgrade is all you ever need in God of War. There's no need to make a fucking RPG system that takes way too long and stuff. I just don't want to be so busy in menus. A lot of people don't like the RPG system. It's so bad, and it seems like it's in every game now. Just move away from that and just come back to your old formula of having this awesome pause menu where you just upgrade your weapons. That's it. You upgrade your weapons and your magic in here. And next up, I also had the Ruthless kill with the grab. You know, grabbing normal enemies would grant the Brutal kill. Grabbing big enemies would grant the Ruthless kill. It's just simple stuff that the old games had that just make it miles better than having RPG mechanics in your game. That's all you need. Just bring back the Red Orb system. With that comes the simplistic and great upgrade system that did not take, you know, half your day, half your gameplay, you know, I'm sorry. It's just better. It's more simple. You're more in the game. You're not spending as much time in menus and stuff. Just bring back a proper upgrade system. And that's it. That's all you need. You don't need to upgrade your axe, the runics of your axe, the handle of your axe. I don't know what's up with all these menuing shit. This was all you needed in the old God of Wars. Now, the next point is zoom out the camera. For how much I'd like the camera to return to the old way, it's fine if you keep it. Since I know they will not do that, I'm sure the execs are just controlling the whole shit and they're like, money, I want this formula. You will not bring the old formula back. Fuck it, I'm fine. Just zoom it out for the love of God. Or you can completely zoom it out like the old God of Wars when we were in combat. Or you can do it a different way, which I've typed in a kind of wrong way. I don't know why I did that. Just like Batman Arkham games, God of War used to be open. Now, the whole God of War used to be open thing is a thing I forgot for the chess argument as well. You know, you could open chests while in combat in God of War. That was a cool risk thing. Like, you could play the coward's game of trying to get the chest, and if you succeed, kudos to you. You get all the orbs back. I just inserted some screenshots from the old God of Wars, God of War Ascension. Look at this awesome camera angle. God of War 3. Look at how you're absorbed in this entire place. This stage hazard that is Helios in here, the Titan in the background. Every enemy is clear. Enemies off screen do not attack. I'm basically asking for this to be back, but since I know this is not going to be back, you can try the Batman Arkham way. This is how the Batman Arkham games look. Basically like the new God of Wars. Except when you're in combat, it's open. You're moving to there, back here, back there, going over there, beating that guy's ass up, pressing triangle on an enemy that is like 10 meters away from you. Batman would just go on and parry him. This is what's needed. Just be open. Basically like Spider-Man and Batman Arkham games. And I could have gotten a much better screenshot, but you would get my point if you just watch a normal combat scenario in Batman Arkham Knight or Batman Arkham City or any Batman really. The free flow system, you know what I mean. Now this point right here, make it a linear game. Your game does not need to be 40 hours long. With a shorter game comes a better balanced game with resources spent on places that need them. Favoring replayability over one long walkthrough will work much better for the long run. This is basically how I want my games to be. Like basically in recent memory we got Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is not a 30-hour long game. It's a game that requires perfection and replayability. You perfect the encounters, and the encounters are paced out so well and stuff. It's all gameplay. The game can be what, 4 to 5 hours long if you play efficiently and fast enough. I haven't seen speedruns. I'm not asking anybody to speedrun a game, but still, making a game linear like the old God of Wars just kinda it makes you want to replay the game more. Like the new God of Wars are constantly promoting replayability. They're kind of, you know, making you want to replay the games. Awesome combat scenarios, amazing weapons, amazing enemies. But at the same time, with all the Walky Talkies, with all the long and shitty pacing and Atreus sections and Walky Talkies sections that are unskippable, it's a walking contradiction. In one hand, you're telling the player, oh, replay the game, the combat is amazing, you can try out other builds. In the same breath, you have shitty sections like Walky Talkie sections. And especially at launch with all the unskippable cutscenes. Don't even get me to that. Please consider that the starting day of development for the next God of War game. I'm just saying, making a linear game that is not open world and all that bullshit, have some, like, we can have some, you know, hey, visit this area, visit that area to find some cool findings and stuff. Have some of that, but having it being an open world, even a semi-open world, I just hate that. The old God of Wars did not have that. The old God of Wars was an intricate, like, on the first walkthrough it would be 10 hours, but when you perfect it enough, that's just 4 to 5 hours of non-stop amazingness in your gameplay. You just perfect stuff. That's what people need to get used to, instead of just, you know, oh, you beat the game, just do some shit in Muspelheim. Just do some stuff in Niflheim and practice with enemies. That's not it. The encounters are creative in God of War Ragnarok, but the game is way too long. And that's kind of problematic. The old games used to be linear, and that's how God of War should be. Remove the outdated game design choice that is Walky Talkie sections. Tell the story in better ways that only games can do with their medium. Or if you even try walking sections, consider adding a skip button for future walkthroughs. These are games, let me replay them. I actually don't think I need to be really heated in this argument right here. It's pretty straightforward. Here's the screenshots that I added. This is not a Walky Talkie, this is a Walky Bowie section, I guess. Ironwood, I don't need to get to that. And you know, basically caves and all that, just to tell 1 or 2 lines that can or cannot be important to the story. Look, you can tell your story in millions of other ways that are much better than just Walky Talkies that ruin the gameplay and pacing and billions of other stuff. Just for the case of, you know, your story getting pushed out there, you do not need to sacrifice the gameplay and pacing. You need to keep everything intact. You know, Captain Cuba had God of War 2 as his favorite, but he said a little something around the lines of, it might not have the best combat, the best story, or the best platforming, but it's the way how it connects all of these together. The pacing is what makes it his favorite. Now that is a very, very interesting point that should go on for every game. You can tell your story in millions of other ways. It does not have to be a walkie-talkie. As I said with the whole one-shot camera thing, a well-directed cutscene, which trust me, God of War 4 and Ragnarok do have those, but a well-directed cutscene with cuts and all that tells the story can also be good. Like, look at God of War 1 story. It's my favorite story, yet it has billions of cuts in its cutscenes and stuff. It does not have a single walkie-talkie, and the camera does cut. The same thing with God of War Ghost of Sparta. That is, hell, it's like you love Eric Williams, right? The director of God of War Ragnarok. It's his favorite story. It's a lot of people's favorite story. God of War Ghost of Sparta also doesn't have walkie-talkies, other than that one really cool Sparta walkie-talkie section that only lasts like 2 minutes max. That's it. That's all you need. I would be much better with absolutely no walkie-talkies, but I'm fine with like one walkie-talkie that can last 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. Like, look at Resident Evil 4 Remake. It does have a walkie-talkie in a section that I'm not about to spoil right now, but still, I'm fine with that since that's the only walkie-talkie in the game. God of War 3 does have a walkie-talkie. I'm not saying anything before you bring up any point about God of War 3. Having a walkie-talkie right at the end where you cannot even play it. You can just quit the game and replay this awesome game again. I don't understand where this is coming from of people, you know, bringing up the God of War 3 point. But anyways, remove the outdated game design that is walkie-talkies. I don't need to make this any clearer than this. It's just shitty design choice. Please remove it. Aerial combat. This might ruffle the executive's panties, but it needs it one way or another. With the combat being more open, zooming out the camera while entering encounters like Batman Arkham games, or like just make it the original God of Wars for the love of God, aerial combat is essential. Aerial combat adds a whole new world to what you have built. It also works for the grab system, grabbing enemies in the air. You are safe while in the air battling enemies before coming back down to the danger. It will also be more realistic where Kratos hitting a troll's head, right? So it also makes sense. I added some screenshots of basically aerial combat. I don't think I need to really explain it any deeper than that. God of War 2. I could have gotten much better screenshots, but still, God of War Ascension and God of War 3. Old God of Wars used to have a lot of aerial combat. I don't need to touch a lot on this. Trust me, if you consider jumping and aerial combat being removed as evolution, like a certain guy in this Twitter thread that I don't even want to show his comment right now. I don't know how you consider that an evolution. I seriously don't. Like, Kratos used to, let alone a single jump, he used to double jump. Which, trust me, you can make a lot of story-related stuff on how he can double jump in the future game. Trust me, you can do it. Aerial combat and just making things less, less context-sensitive is very important. Like, God of War 4 and God of War Ragnarok is looming with context sensitivity. God of War Ragnarok, you know, the whole verticality with grapple from one point and or grapple to a upper platform. A lot of people compare that to the old aerial maneuvering and stuff, aerial combat of the old God of Wars. And I'm just here to stop and just to tell you that you're comparing context sensitivity where you press a button where Kratos flies to a part to an actual free jumping and, air maneuverability in the old God of War games. Do not compare the two. It's not the same. You know, running from a ledge where Kratos is in a full state and then slamming the ground, that is called Death from Above in the new God of War Ragnarok game, is not the same as jumping and doing a Tartarus Rage in the old God of Wars. It's just not the same. One is just running off a ledge, just one specific time you can ever do that, and just when falling or jumping from a ledge. The other is just jumping whenever you want. It even fixes the whole platforming issue that the new God of War games have. By having this amazing jumping mechanic that the old God of War games had, with how fluid and awesome it also was, you also bring back the platforming. You know, how awesome was the platforming in the old games? Do I need to touch on that? My God. Aerial combat, it's essential. For the next game, please make it. If you're adding a jump button, and if you want to resemble the old God of Wars, as you should, that's your guns, you better stick to your guns, you should add aerial combat and jumping mechanics. Now, the next point I brought up is a very, very important point that I still don't know how it didn't make it to God of War 4. Bring back the grab system. The grab system of the old games complemented the resource management. Grab killing a Gorgon gave back magic orbs. Grab killing a Minotaur gave back health orbs. With all that said, there was also red orbs in mind. We'll get to the red orbs in a bit. Now, I did touch on the red orbs at the start of the video, with the simplistic upgrades and all. But here's a pretty simple idea on what I mean by bring the grabs back. See this? This kind of did get back for God of War 4, but this one didn't. The normal grabs on any other enemy. Now, this could be much better. You know, you do have this in God of War 4 and God of War Ragnarok, correct? But it does not have the resource management and the red orbs in mind. In here, when I kill the Cyclops, I will get a Ruthless Kill medal, and it will give me 25 orbs, on top of the orbs that I already got from him. Other than that, I'm safely taking him out. Or, we have enemies that they give you specific orbs when you kill them. You kill a Minotaur, you get the health orbs. You kill a Cerberus in God of War 2, you get the rage orbs. You kill the Gorgon or the Sirens in any God of War, and you get the magic orbs. Basically, resource management. That just brings us back to the whole point of bring back the resource management to the God of War games. Bringing back the grab system does not just simply mean, hey, stun this enemy long enough, which, by the way, I don't know about you guys, but I prefer this over the stun system, yes. The stun system is amazing in the new games, but I'm just saying, it's not God of War. This is God of War right here. Anyways, grabbing was not just, hey, let's safely take out this enemy, or hey, let's just ride this ogre to control and kill the other enemies and stuff. It was much more. It was resource management. It also had the red orbs in mind. It's just different in here. And besides the big enemies, we have the small enemies. You could grab them and you had 4 options. One was to kill them and to add some more to your hit counter. One was to insta-kill them. And the other was to use the enemy on another enemy. You know, throw them to another enemy in God of War 1 and 2. You also had that in God of War 3, but you had something else in God of War 3, which was the battering ram. Kratos held the enemy and ran with him and destroyed everyone around him. You know, you also had the X option, which in God of War 2, it launched the enemy. In God of War Ascension, it threw the enemy to other enemies. In God of War 3, it did the same thing, you know, throwing the enemy to another. This whole system was removed. I saw it in the trailer for God of War Ragnarok and I was like, whoa, the grabs are back in Ragnarok. The option select where you grab an enemy with your blades and then you get to decide what to do with them. Whether throw it to another enemy to build up their stun or to kill them, possibly. Or to do another option that kills the enemy. Or to do another option that launches him somehow. That wasn't really brought back. But God of War Ragnarok still did a really nice effort in bringing back the grab system. You know, the whole rage mode, the Wrath rage mode, it does grab these normal enemies and it does do AoE damage while destroying their health bars. The Wrath rage mode is a very nice upgrade to God of War Ragnarok, but it's still not quite the grab system that these games were. You know, doing this grab kill right here is not only the grab kill, it still had red orbs in mind. It still gave you the bonus kill medal on the right part of the screen where it gave you 5 orbs. See, it still had it in mind. That's the great thing about it. Even with these grab kills. I know you can ride the ogres in the new God of War games to control them and, you know, to destroy the enemies around. But it still missed the resource management thing to it. Like, it still doesn't have creatures that you can battle out and you know, like you beat a Minotaur and you get your health bar. You get your health back, sorry. That's just resource managing without chests. It's just that good. And I just hope I'm being clear right here. It's much better to have this grab system over the whole stun system. Stun this enemy, grab him, do that, do this. As I said, God of War Ragnarok did a really good job with the Wrath Rage mode where you go and grab an enemy, you know, send him into the air, snatch him back down, or, you know, with it's a different grab animation with every other weapon. You know, on top of having the whole stun grab that the game used to have. I'm just saying, it's a good thing, but it's still not him. In conclusion, God of War Ragnarok is a very, very nice combat system. It has a very nice combat system. I just want to say that again for the 3rd time. It has a very nice combat system. But it's not a very nice God of War combat system. Pay attention to the old God of Wars and what they used to do. Do that to the new game that is upcoming next. I don't know where it's going to be, in Egypt or where. And that's all you have to do. Just stick to your guns. You made up this amazing formula. And now you're slowly straying away from it for no reason. Like, I don't know. If you want to keep on this shitty camera that is always behind Kratos, fucking you can even keep that to some extent. I would much prefer the older camera style where you could see your cool character from afar fighting all these enemies. And you would have a balanced, you know, an enemy would attack from the enemy that you're facing right now, and you would actually see him attack instead of him getting a cheap shot in, or, you know, the game telling you that enemies are attacking by indicators or whatever. Just, I'm getting into my rambling state right now. It's great combat. It's great combat. I do have my complaints about it. It does have flaws, but it's overall great combat, but not as great as the old God of Wars, and it's just generally not great God of War combat. I hope that's been clear. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys understand what's being offered in this thread. I'm not saying, you know, the combat of the current games is bad. I'm just saying it's not the God of War games, you know, combat. I haven't even gotten into the whole petrification being brought back in a proper way and all that, because I'm sure they're not going to do any of this whole thread. So why even really waste my energy on that? With that, we reached the end of today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace.